There is something fascinating about a man who has matured, who has lived, who has felt life deeply enough to understand it without rushing. Female psychology responds differently to this kind of man, not because of age, but because of the habits that age often teaches. Women are not drawn to older men by number, they are drawn by presence, by energy, by emotional tone. And today, we're exploring 8 habits that make these men almost effortlessly attractive. The first habit is calm confidence. When a man reaches a level in life where he no longer competes for attention, validation, or approval, he becomes powerfully attractive. Women feel safe around a man whose confidence isn't loud. It's not a performance, it's a state of being. He knows who he is, and that inner steadiness is something younger men often haven't developed yet. Female psychology reads this as emotional safety, and emotional safety is one of the strongest forms of attraction. The second habit is clarity of communication. Older men often say what they mean and mean what they say. They don't play games, they don't speak in riddles, and they don't hide their intentions out of insecurity. Women appreciate this clarity. It feels refreshing, grounding, and honest. It sends a message. I know what I want, and I'm not afraid to express it. Third is emotional control, not suppression. Control. Women find it deeply attractive when a man can feel anger without exploding, feel pressure without collapsing, and feel confusion without becoming reactive. A man who can regulate himself creates peace in the relationship. He turns chaos into calm, and that calmness becomes magnetic. The fourth attractive habit is purpose. There is nothing more appealing than a man who wakes up with direction. Women are wired to read a man's sense of mission because purpose signals strength, responsibility, and leadership. Older men who have built careers, skills, or personal visions radiate a sense of certainty about their lives. That certainty inspires trust, and trust inspires attraction. Fifth, older men often carry a deeper appreciation for meaningful connection. They listen more, rush less, and understand that intimacy isn't built through big gestures, but through presence. Female psychology loves a man who can be fully present in a conversation, who hears not only the words but the feelings behind them. The sixth attractive habit is healthy boundaries. Women feel drawn to a man who respects himself, not in arrogance, but in quiet strength. He doesn't tolerate disrespect. He doesn't chase someone who is unsure. He doesn't beg for attention. His boundaries communicate, I value myself, and that creates natural desire. Older men who appear effortlessly attractive are not necessarily defined by age, but by the subtle qualities that female psychology reads as emotional safety, maturity, and grounded presence. When a woman studies a man, consciously or subconsciously, she observes not just how he looks, but how he moves through the world, how he speaks, how he carries himself, and how he handles life. Attraction for women is about emotional influence, not just outward charm. And older men who have evolved through life naturally develop habits that younger men often haven't learned yet. Understanding these habits can help any man, regardless of age, step into a more powerful and attractive version of himself. One of the strongest aspects that female psychology responds to is calm confidence, the kind that quietly fills a room without demanding attention. This confidence is not loud, aggressive, or showy. It's grounded, relaxed, and controlled. Women feel this calmness like a stabilizing force. When a man doesn't need to prove anything, argue unnecessarily, or dominate conversations, he becomes attractive in a deep emotional way. His presence feels steady, his energy feels safe. Another powerful trait is communication clarity. Older men often become more direct because life has taught them that honesty builds trust while games only create confusion. Women appreciate a man who can say what he means without hesitation, and who expresses his feelings without fear. This doesn't mean oversharing or being overly emotional. It means being authentic. Transparency signals maturity. It tells a woman she doesn't need to decode mixed messages or guess what he's thinking. It allows her to relax emotionally, and relaxation is a pathway to attraction. Female psychology is strongly drawn to men who reduce emotional uncertainty. Emotional control is another habit that makes older men look more attractive. This is not about suppressing feelings, but managing them. When a man can feel frustration without exploding or handle conflict without collapsing into defensiveness, he radiates maturity. Women trust a man who can stay grounded during difficult moments because this stability signals long-term safety. Younger men often operate from impulse, but older men who have learned self-regulation become magnets of emotional calmness. Women interpret emotional control as inner strength, and inner strength is deeply attractive. Purpose also plays a major role in attraction. A man who knows what he's building, who understands where he's going, and who lives according to a mission becomes irresistible not because of age, but because purpose radiates direction. Women are naturally drawn to men who have goals, values, and ambition because these qualities create the feeling of a structured life. A man with purpose doesn't feel lost, he feels anchored. His focus becomes part of his attractiveness, showing that he's not just surviving life, but shaping it. Another reason older men often appear more attractive is their ability to appreciate meaningful connection. After experiencing relationships, heartbreaks, successes, and failures, they tend to understand the value of emotional presence. They listen better, they observe more deeply, and they understand that connection is not built through constant noise, but through attention and intention. Women feel emotionally seen when a man creates space for their thoughts and feelings. Female psychology opens more easily around a man who listens with his mind and responds with his heart. Boundaries also increase a man's attractiveness. Older men often know what they will and won't tolerate. They don't compete for validation, they don't chase someone who's unsure, and they don't fear walking away from disrespect. A man with boundaries is a man who values himself. And female psychology is naturally drawn to men who respect themselves because self-respect sets the tone for how others treat him. A man with boundaries looks powerful without saying a word. He sends the message that he is whole on his own, and this independence generates admiration. Self-care and grooming also contribute to the attractiveness of older men. When a man takes care of his body, maintains a clean and intentional style, and presents himself with pride, women notice. He doesn't need to look young, he needs to look put together. Discipline and effort are attractive qualities because they reflect responsibility and self-respect. When an older man looks polished, he communicates that he is not aging passively, he is aging with strength and intention. The final layer that enhances an older man's attractiveness is emotional depth. Women crave depth in a world full of shallow connections. A man who understands himself, who has reflected on his past, who has healed instead of hardened, and who knows how to love with maturity becomes captivating. Depth makes conversations richer, intimacy deeper, and the connection more meaningful. An emotionally deep man expresses affection intentionally, speaks with thoughtfulness, and brings presence into every moment. This emotional richness often comes from life experience, and it creates a gravitational pull that female psychology finds irresistible. When you look closely, you see that the attractiveness of older men is not about age at all. It is about evolution. It is about growth, awareness, emotional intelligence, and personal strength. Any man can develop these qualities whether he is 25 or 55. Women are attracted to the energy a man carries, not the date on his ID. A man becomes more attractive when he becomes more grounded, more confident, more emotionally aware, and more purposeful. These habits shape his aura, his presence, and the way women perceive him. And when a man learns to embody these traits, he steps into a version of himself that doesn't just attract women, but commands respect from everyone around him. When women observe older men and feel a natural attraction, it is often because these men express qualities that align with emotional security, depth, and reliability. Female psychology doesn't respond simply to appearances, it responds to what a man's behavior signals about his inner world. And older men, through experience and growth, tend to embody signals that quietly speak to emotional maturity. When a woman looks at a man, she notices far more than his face or style. She notices how he handles life, how he reacts to stress, how he communicates, and how he treats himself. And these subtle cues create an emotional impression more powerful than physical looks. One of the first habits that makes older men stand out is their ability to hold themselves together under pressure. A woman pays attention to how a man behaves when things don't go his way. A man who stays calm, thinks clearly, and handles challenges with composure naturally becomes more attractive. This calmness shows emotional mastery, which female psychology interprets as strength. Younger men often react impulsively, but older men who have navigated life develop patience. This patience creates a sense of grounding that women can feel before a man even speaks. Another habit that draws women toward older men is their sense of emotional responsibility. They take ownership of their words, actions, and choices. Instead of blaming others or making excuses, they acknowledge their role in situations. This accountability is rare and powerful. Women find it attractive when a man can apologize without ego or express his thoughts without manipulation. Emotional responsibility shows that he has grown beyond childish reactions. It shows that he has learned from life instead of being shaped by resentment. Women trust men who are accountable because accountability means stability. Another major reason older men stand out is their refined social awareness. Time teaches them the importance of reading people's emotions and responding appropriately. They watch, they listen, and they understand the atmosphere around them. They don't interrupt for attention or dominate conversations. Instead, they make others feel comfortable. This subtle awareness makes women feel seen, respected, and understood. Female psychology connects deeply with men who notice emotional details, and older men often do this effortlessly. Women also find older men attractive because they are less concerned with competing for validation. A man who is comfortable with who he is does not chase after approval, and that kind of self-assurance radiates attractiveness. Women can sense when a man is trying too hard. Insecure efforts, showing off, bragging, seeking attention, make a man look emotionally unsteady. Older men, however, often express quiet confidence. They don't need to be the loudest in the room. They don't need to prove anything. They understand that presence is more attractive than performance. And when a man carries himself with this relaxed confidence, women naturally lean in. Another habit that adds to their appeal is emotional generosity.